Hello and welcome back to TikTok Finance, the epicenter of bad advice. Let's jump right into it. This is how I become a millionaire in 1 year. This can just be premium content.
If I had to start over right now and become a millionaire in 1 year, this is exactly what I would do. I would go to ChatGPT and I would look at the top 25 or 50 skills that are in demand right now, and I would pick one. The three ways I would grade it is one, do I already know it? Two, am I passionate about it? And three, if I don't know it, how hard is it to learn? Remember, we don't have much time. Once I've picked a skill, I will immediately start posting on social media and building a personal brand around it. It is crucial that you start posting about this before you're an expert, showing your journey. If you do not have a journey, people will not trust you. It's a huge trust factor.
Oh my God, we're 20 seconds in and he already makes claims that I cannot get behind. So for starters, if you know anything about ChatGPT, the database for ChatGPT is a backwards looking database. I think the latest version of ChatGPT 3.0 is working on 2023 model data of the internet, meaning if you're looking for trends, ChatGPT will even tell you that current trends cannot be properly assessed, so you're 2 years behind. Let's just ignore that fact conveniently. If I was to ask ChatGPT, what are the top 25 skills in demand? You know what? I'll just do it to follow his advice. All right, so this is a live version, a small snippet of the top 25 in-demand skills for 2025. By the way, ChatGPT even mentions that it cannot predict current trends, but here is what it thinks it does. Data science and analytics, software development, cybersecurity, cloud computing, machine learning, blockchain, IoT, DevOps, UI design. Mind you, all of these things, and I have intimate knowledge about several of those, are not easily trainable. In order to be a top software developer, you will need years of proper experience and not just learn it in a few months. DevOps requires you to work deeply in a company that closely develops whilst it is running the operations at the same time. Data science and analytics needs you to understand the underlying data problem. Leadership, project management. You can't just become a great project manager or a great leader. Financial management, operation management, aka CFO, COO, business strategy and digital marketing. All of those are, by the way, areas where you would need a college degree in order to properly work and earn money. Communication, teamwork, emotional intelligence, those are not skills that are monetizable by themselves. They are traits that people who work in these areas typically bring. So his tip is already pretty bad. Then he suggests that you are faking it until you're making it. I'm a project manager, UI designer, zero problem. You can reach out to me and be my first customer or the first customer that I ever work with. And you will potentially not notice that I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about.
I will start growing my personal brand through providing value on what I've learned already in life.
Oh, mind you, I just think about something else. I've never, and I mean never ever, seen anyone hire a project manager based on their TikTok reference. And I really mean never. That is just not a channel that is used for serious work. Influencers do live in their micro bubble, and I think they have no idea how the corporate world works.
What I'm currently learning, but I will stick to the niche of the skill I'm learning to make sure the following that I gather are close to this niche somewhat, so I have a potential customer pool when I'm ready to sell. Once I've perfected this skill, I will start providing this skill to clients for free or cheap to get testimonials, to get proof. Remember, proof over promise. Once I get that proof over promise, I will start charging market prices, and it will work like this. I put my time and energy and money into building a personal brand. I will get customers, I get results, and those results will bring me more customers. And I will start using the money that I made to invest back into the business, better equipment, better skills, better employees, until I have scaled to $1 million. Guys, this is very, very, very simple.
No, it is actually not. It is actually not. And that is why not many people are making that type of money. The niches that, based on your own admission, ChatGPT would recommend you are typically niches with high entry barriers because they require certain or very specific knowledge in order to actually be successful in that area. You are not going to be able to replicate a formal education like a CFA in just your own research and then use a trust me bro strategy and cheaper prices to obtain customers and positive testimonials. The matter of the fact is that, number one, the audience that you're trying to reach would not even use the platforms, and number two, people that you're trying to charge your services for would immediately understand, once they talk with you for more than 5 minutes, that you are not having the necessary knowledge or education to even talk about the subject that you claim to be the expert in. And latest at the delivery date, when you are a project manager that just can't come up with a proper project plan, and when you're managing to milestones that are continuously not being met, and you're getting questions why the project isn't working, and you can't really deliver promising answers, and you don't have the skills to deliver presentations in front of an executive that will have such questions, you will not only not get your testimonial, but you will likely immediately lose the gig, and you will not be successful in that niche. So scale it. Then the idea of scaling that up with people that would be working for you to easily make 1 million within a year is laughable. The consulting industry that he is talking about is a pretty competitive industry, and you will need to differentiate yourself by actually delivering good value to even be able to charge market prices. And finally, the idea that you are creating a brand out of thin air just because you are selecting a niche and you are reading into that, air quotes, is not how it works. I mean, that works with certain very specific skills that you can buy on Fiverr, but then you will see that these skills are also having a saturated market where many people are self-delivering that, but they are very seldomly having a scaling business behind it because the entry barrier is low. And in areas where you have a high entry barrier, you wouldn't be able to follow your strategy. So once again, horrible advice. All right, let's watch Mark Cuban and see what he has to say.
If you want to be a millionaire, you can do it. But there's a couple things you have to be able to accomplish. Rule number one, find something you can be good at and then be great at it. Second, you have to know how to sell. Whatever it is you're good at, somebody's going to need that service, someone's going to need that, whatever it is that you're creating, but you have to be able to sell because you don't want to be in a position where you're dependent on other people. Number three, be curious and always be learning. Because the one thing that's certain about business is that it changes every single day. And then the fourth thing, when you have that knowledge, when you have that ability to sell, when you know that when you walk into a room, you know you're better than anybody else in the room, that's when it's time to start a company. Then you can start to control your own destiny. If you want
I like that advice much better than anything that I've seen before on this platform so far. Not that I'm the biggest Mark Cuban fan. I think he's an interesting businessman, but I haven't watched particularly many of his takes or Shark Tank, where I know that he has been one of the participants. The core of what he's saying, though, is right. You can monetize most of the skills, but what people misunderstand also in the suggestion, just do what your passion tells you and then you will be successful eventually. That is not how it works. If you're following whatever you want to do, you also need to be good at it. And that is oftentimes not enough. You need to be great at it. You can be the best barber in the world and then you can make quite a fortune of it. But you need to become the best barber and not just a barber that is just very good at it. So mastership in your craft is incredibly important. You can see that across all of the dimensions. People are willing to pay a premium for premium services, but that also requires that you have a humble attitude and that you really understand where are you performing compared to how everybody else is performing. And there is a huge problem with ego in that. You are oftentimes overestimating how good you are compared to how you should be. I like how he was saying then once you can do whatever you want to do in a not only great but exceptional fashion, try to sell it and try to find an audience. I would agree with that. That's correct. And only at the very end, when you have done what you have done for a while and become also good at selling it, then you should start a company around it, because you do have something that you can scale up. And listen carefully to what he is saying compared to the get rich quick schemes. He hasn't put a time scale on any of that. He has been very, very correct in saying you need to be exceptional at what you are doing if you want to leverage that as the nucleus for a self-built fortune. And then once you are exceptionally good at it and you can market it, then you can start scaling by building a company and training others, which is why I always find it laughable when I see some 20-ish years old person who is saying, I am looking for mentees, or I like to share my knowledge. The reality of his Be Curious approach is people who are successful are typically quite humble about it, because they know that there is more to learn, and they wouldn't start bragging about that. But that goes into a completely different topic about people who are truly successful and people who fake being successful in order to convince people who have no idea about whether or not they are successful, and try to trick people into buying courses or whatnot. Anyways, that's a good advice from Mark Cuban. Let's move on. All right, let's start with the last one for today, 5 jobs that make you a millionaire. I am going to die to hear what kind of jobs that would be. It's interesting that they never talk about the spending habits that you would require in order to be a millionaire, but that's a different topic. Again, also on top of that, I wouldn't sit in a pool with a shirt on and then give financial advice. It's just not the best way to start your presentation, but okay, maybe it's a different audience that he's trying to appeal to.
5 jobs that will make you a millionaire. The last one is the best. 1, an air traffic controller, 100K per year. 2,
well, whilst that is true for the United States, air traffic controllers are well salaried in the European Union, but not near the 100 plus K range. Also, after deducting taxes, depending on the location where you work, you actually leave with between 50 and 70K. And that, again, depending on the area where you're living, might not be enough to substantially save and then become a millionaire unless you are frugal. So he isn't even talking about that. He just assumes you make 100K because it's a job that makes a lot of money, and therefore you will become a millionaire. And that is not a correct conclusion.
2, an investment banker, 150K per year, plus big bonuses.
That is correct. The payment indeed is correct also across different geographies. That is typically what you're working for. However, it also comes with 100 plus hours work weeks and a highly, highly competitive environment where you not only need to know your traits very, very well, but you also need to be very much a type A competitive character in order to be successful in that particular environment.
3, a software engineer, 200K plus big bonuses and company stock.
That is untrue. It is true for the FANG companies in the United States, so the big 5 large tech companies. But then it is also not true for all of the other companies. A software engineer typically doesn't make around that money, particularly not outside of the United States. A IT expert and software engineer nets around low 6-figure income. Typically speaking, there are exceptions to that. If you want to go into the 250 bracket, you need to be exceptionally good at what you're doing. And it is also, again, a competitive sector. So he makes it sound like that easily would be available for many of the software engineers.
4, a surgeon, 350K plus per year.
Shows that he is definitely only focusing on data from the United States. Whilst in the United States, surgeons indeed make a truckload of money, it also comes with a high amount of student loan debt from medical schools. And whilst certain medical professions in the United States are arguably completely overpriced for what they're doing. The vast majority of all of the other developed countries wouldn't have those sorts of income. Specifically, the UK, where I think this character is originating from, doesn't pay 350 grand unless you are a top level brain surgeon or someone who is truly exceptional, or the leader of faculty at a medical institution. Then that would be possible, but it is not that the average surgeon is making that level of income. And now we're going to the fifth one, the elusive, the entrepreneur category. I was waiting for that. It must have been crypto bro or entrepreneur.
5, an entrepreneur. This one is truly unlimited.
Well, I mean, a couple of things here. Number one, nothing is truly unlimited. There's a finite amount of money. I don't want to be too picky or too procurious about that, but it is just not unlimited. Secondly, he's again misrepresenting probable with potential. Can you potentially be very successful as an entrepreneur? Yes. Is it probable? No. The vast majority of all businesses are failing. So the quota of businesses within the first 3 years that would go illiquid and will not continue business, it's around 70%. Within the first 5 years, it's 90-ish%. The amount of businesses that do not make a significant return even after that is still quite staggering. So if you take that into consideration, then a person going into the field of entrepreneurship is likely only really successful if they have marketable skills that they could also sell to bigger companies for a quite hefty income. The vast majority of other entrepreneurs are not really successful, and that's just based on the numbers. So is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? No. And it is most certainly not probable that you make unlimited income on it. I know that he was just trying to make a point here, but I feel it is, again, misleading if people use TikTok as kind of an influence for their future career making, and then they are listening to the 5 jobs that you could take on in order to become a millionaire. And they think, you know what? Out of the 4 first jobs, which all require formal education and long years of training, I'll just skip all of that because the best one is the entrepreneur. I'll just fast forward to that, go out of high school or out of college and just become an entrepreneur because that's truly unlimited potential. And then they end up in that echo chamber of people that are telling each other that you just need to sell better and that you just need to be smarter to become rich, whilst they really don't fully have a plan of what they want to do. Just compare what he is saying to Mark Cuban before. This here is just blatant snakes oil salesmanship, although I don't even know if he sells a course, whilst Mark Cuban actually talks out of real learned experience. And this is how you can differentiate between someone who just has an opinion and someone who knows what they are talking about and is sharing some of first-hand experiences. Anyways, let me know what you think, which one of the tips was the worst, which one was the best, and see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.